Have you ever stopped to think about how a simple hello can, well, go totally wrong? It seems like it should be the easiest thing in the world, right? But what feels completely normal to you might be baffling, or maybe even a little rude to someone else. So let's decode some of these hidden cultural rules, because you're about to see why this is a skill that's becoming absolutely essential in our world.
And this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. In the US, if someone asks, "How are you?" it's kind of like a script, you know? You're just supposed to say, "Fine, thanks, how are you?" It's really just a social signal. It's exactly the same with "Have you eaten?" in China. It's not about food, it's a way to show you care. If you actually started listing off your health problems or giving a detailed description of your last meal, you'd be breaking a hidden rule. It's about the connection, not the content.
Okay, so these little moments are really just the tip of the iceberg. The world is getting smaller and way more connected every single day, which means that getting this stuff right isn't just a nice-to-have skill anymore. No way. It's becoming totally essential.
To really get the why behind all this, experts point to what they call the 6 imperatives. Think of these as these massive global forces that are pushing all of us closer together, whether we're ready for it or not. They cover the whole shebang, from keeping the peace and driving our economies, to the tech in our pockets, and even our own personal ethics and self-awareness.
Now, while all 6 are obviously crucial on a global scale, we're going to zero in on the 3 that are most likely shaping your world right now, probably every single day. This is where the big academic ideas get super practical.
So first up is the demographic imperative. I mean, just look around. Our communities, our workplaces, they look more like the entire world than they ever have before. Next, you've got technology. The phone in your hand is basically a portal to almost anyone on the planet, instantly. And finally, there's self-awareness. This one's my favorite. It's this idea that by trying to understand another culture, you suddenly hold up a mirror to your own, and all your own hidden rules suddenly become visible.
All right, so we've talked about why this is all so critical. Now let's get into the what. What are the underlying codes that are causing these misunderstandings in the first place? It's time to look at the source code of culture.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. Culture isn't something we're born with. It's like this invisible software that gets installed in us as we grow up. And it's just running in the background all the time, shaping our default settings for what's polite, what's right, and what feels normal. So to understand the communication glitches, we have to look at the code itself.
So the first line of code we're going to look at is all about identity. The big question is the primary focus on the I or on the we? In individualistic cultures, the main goal is to stand out, to achieve personal success. But in collectivistic cultures, the priority is to fit in, to make sure the group is harmonious and to support the whole.
And listen, this isn't just a simple black and white thing, it's a whole spectrum. For example, the United States scores super high on individualism with a huge emphasis on personal achievement. Way on the other end, you've got a highly collectivistic culture like South Korea, where group harmony is everything. And then you have Japan sitting somewhere in the middle. It makes you think, right? Where does your own culture fall in this scale?
Now, this next idea builds right on top of that last one. It's about how we communicate. In what we call low-context cultures, the verbal message is king. Communication is direct, it's explicit, what is said is exactly what is meant. But in high-context cultures, the context is king. Communication is much more indirect and layered. The real message that's often found in what isn't said.
So let's break it down. In a low-context culture, the goal is clarity. Let's just be logical, get to the point. But in a high-context culture, the goal is harmony and saving face. It's way better to be a little indirect than to risk offending somebody. And this is where it all clicks into place. Individualistic, I cultures, they tend to be low context, while collectivistic, we cultures are almost always high context. See how one logically flows from the other?
Okay, so faced with all these differences, how do we move forward? I know, it can feel a bit overwhelming, but the solution isn't as complicated as you might think. It's really about shifting your perspective.
And here is the absolute crucial point. You will never become an expert in every single culture on Earth. It's just not possible. Trying to do that is a recipe for failure. The real goal, the achievable goal, is to change your whole approach, from one of judgment and confusion to one of openness and curiosity.
The key to making that shift is this powerful idea called cultural humility, and it's a lifelong commitment to checking yourself. What that means is it's not about becoming an expert on other people, it's about recognizing that you are a lifelong student of your own biases, and that your way of seeing the world is just one of many valid ways.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it's accepting you can't possibly know everything. It's understanding that reading one book doesn't suddenly make you a master. It's about committing to being open and listening way more than you talk. But honestly, most importantly, it's learning to suspend your judgment.
It's that simple act of replacing the thought, that's weird, with, huh, that's different. I wonder why.
So, I'll leave you with this question. After everything we've talked about, what is one assumption you hold about your own culture or about another one that you can look at with fresh eyes today? Because that small act of just asking the question, that's the very first step on the path of cultural humility.